What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and to another Overwatch League news video, and we have a major one to talk about, as you're already aware of, as Sinatraa, the MVP player for the San Francisco Shock, has retired from Pro Overwatch. This came out of nowhere. I was just not prepared for something like this to happen. There was no word of this going on, and just suddenly ESPN's like, oh, Sinatra's retiring. We're like, huh? What's going on? Then literally just moments later, the Shock are like, yep, Sinatra's gone, farewell, and now we're all just sitting here absolutely mind blown. Even though the news dropped a few hours ago, I'm in complete disbelief still. Like, I am completely shook over this. My emotions are running at an all-time high right now. I just can't believe what happened. Just out of nowhere, this hit us like a train. There's a lot I'd like to discuss with you guys, so let's not waste any more time. Let's dive straight into this, and I wanted to start off with the ESPN article that leaked this. So according to this article, the reigning MVP of the league, Sinatraa, decided to retire from competitive Overwatch and now wants to compete in Pro Valorant as part of the esports organization Sentinels. He's going to be joining that team apparently. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Another pro is leaving us for Valorant, which is a game that has only been out for what, like 3 weeks in closed beta now? That's absolutely insane. That's the kind of hype this game is generating. People firmly believe the esports scene for that when it comes out is going to be absolutely massive. The fact that we lost one of our most famous players to it proves how big this game is supposedly going to be. My stance on this happening is just 50-50 really. In a way, I can understand it because, like I said, this game's going to be pretty big. It's growing at a rapid pace, but also Sinatraa just so happens to be a big fan of CSGO. We've seen him play Valorant on stream as well, and I'm pretty sure it's always been his dream to be a big-time star in like those CSGO types of games, as he has apparently made it known that some of his biggest esports idols were from the CSGO scene. Playing DPS in Overwatch is not what it used to be. We all know that. It doesn't really feel like you're shooting things as much. It doesn't feel a lot like you need mechanics anymore. It's more about just freezing people with Mei and all that, but by playing Valorant, Sinatraa can regain that feeling, like all of the other FPS players out there. They feel like true FPS players again. Don't just take my word for it though. Listen to what Sinatraa himself had to say on the twit longer he made regarding his retirement. I'm only going to read a certain section of it out. It's kind of long. There's a bunch of things that aren't really relevant to this video. And if you want to read the rest of it, make sure to check out the link in the description because I will have it there. Anyway, here we go. Straight up just lost passion for the game. I don't know what the real killer was for me, but maybe it was 222 lock. Maybe it was bans. I'm not sure. I just know it was hard for me to log on to play, and I didn't have fun in scrim/ranked at all anymore. I did not make this decision in one day. It took a full month of nonstop thinking every day and sleepless nights from being so stressed. It effing sucked, but ultimately, I wanted to do what's right for me. I want to thank NRG/Shock and Owl for giving me a chance in making my dreams come true. Last thing, I just wanted to say sorry to all my fans of Owl and everyone on Shock. In the past month, I did not give Overwatch/Overwatch League my all, and it showed in scrims and even in Owl, so I'm sorry. So yeah, there you go. To have that extra confirmation, Sinatraa just did not enjoy the game anymore. It wasn't the same to him, you know? It wasn't like back in the Selfless days or even the early Shock days. It just didn't give off that same feeling for him. He lost that passion that made himself really just strive to be great. And as he says, it showed in scrims and even on stage. He just wasn't that same person because he knew in his heart the game wasn't for him anymore. I'm glad he decided to make this decision because in my opinion, it was the right one. I know it sounds crazy because there's a lot he's leaving behind here, but at the end of the day, you have to respect what a man wants in his life, you know? He knew that this was stressing him out way too much. He was basically just wasting a roster spot at this point because he didn't want to play. So why waste everybody's time as well as NRG's money, you know? There's no point. Just walk off into the sunset. You're already a very accomplished player. You've done more than enough to prove that you are a well-respected Overwatch Pro player. However, there are some negative consequences that comes with this that we need to address as well. So for one, this is kind of a bad look in my opinion. No offense to Sinatraa, I think this was the right decision, like I said, but calling it quits mid-season like this just doesn't look that great. You're coming off an MVP season, your team just won the Overwatch League Championship in 2019, and literally, your Overwatch League MVP skin hasn't even come out yet, and you're leaving. It's going to be hella awkward when that drops, because he's not even here anymore. Like, what are people going to buy it for? As a tribute? That's basically the only reason I could think of at this point. I'm really sorry to all of the Sinatraa and San Francisco Shock fans out there, because I know you all really loved that guy. I know some people liked the shock to begin with because Sinatraa was there and now he's gone, so I'm sure you have to be feeling a little bit lost. But please don't hate the guy. Just, even if you don't like Valorant, please just support him in whatever he does. He really does deserve it. He worked so hard to get where he was, and he entertained a lot of people. He put a lot on the line for everybody to be an entertainer and to be one of the all-time greats. Other than some bad timing, I'm sure, as he said in his tweet longer, that, he let a lot of people down besides the fans of the league. I'm sure a bunch of his teammates and coaches feel really upset about him just quitting on them. Not only is he this crazy hard carry with some of the most gifted abilities you'll ever see, but the fact of the matter is that Sinatraa was a leader. If you've seen any of those comm checks video, you know that very well, but also, head coach Crusty went out and made his own little tweet longer talking about why he's going to miss Sinatraa. So let's read that out to further prove that he was just such an important piece to this team. And I quote, "As a coach, it's so hard to say goodbye to the player, especially who is the leader in the heart of the team. It's so painful to let him go. He was the best player and best teammate. I remember before Season 2, when we were starting at Under, all of our players wanted to win for Season 2. We really tried hard. Sinatraa is one of the players who really tried his best for most of Season 2. There's no doubt he tried his best at Season 2. He deserved it. For me, I really don't want to say goodbye. I was planning this season with him. He is an MVP, best player, and best friend. But who can say no to him if he wants to try and find another chance? There's no doubt about his choice. He will do great with what he does. Love you, Jay. You are the legend of this team, and we are always on your side." That sums it up pretty well, wouldn't you say? And since it comes from the head coach of the San Francisco Shock, you know this is legit. You know that there's going to be some tough times ahead potentially for the Shock. All of the teammates and coaches, they're losing such an awesome guy. He was such a great player to be around, and he meant so much. And literally, Crusty even said it's painful to let him go. He literally, until the very end, had him as a focal point of this team. He was planning for the future with Sinatraa still. Since day one of him being on the San Francisco Shock back in Season 1 when they were bottom feeders, he's supposed to have always been the savior of this team. He is the main man, the guy that's going to be the superstar hard carry that takes them away from the ashes and into victory. I'm sure the Shock could still be a very good team without Sinatraa. There's no doubt about that. They're very talented still, and they're well coached. But the fact of the matter remains is that Sinatraa was a leader. Even if he wasn't playing, he was still there to help guide all of those players, keep them in a good mood, and now he's gone. So someone else has to try and step up. Looking at it from a personnel standpoint, this really doesn't hurt the Shock at all, because for one, they still have 4 DPS players on the roster, and 2, they cover all of Sinatra's best heroes pretty well. You have Striker for Tracer and Ansan as well. Then for Doomfish, you could play Architect or Rascal, so they're all good there. More than anything, it's the leadership and the comms that the Shock will be missing from Sinatraa. Anyhow, those are my general thoughts on how the Shock will be moving forward without Sinatraa. 2 more things I wanted to bring up before we close out the video. The first of which is some concerns that I'd like to voice. You guys know me, I love to stay positive here on the channel. I love to be enthusiastic, but I have to be real with you guys. I'm actually very worried about the current state of the Overwatch League. Now, disclaimer, I'm in no way saying Overwatch League is guaranteed to be dead or that it's dying right now, but right now, the situation does not look pretty. That's all I'm going to say. A lot of people don't have anything positive to say about the game right now, and a ton of people, like myself, are just concerned. There's nothing to smile about right now. There have been numerous rumors about people just not being happy in the league and just Overwatch pros in general, even outside of the Overwatch League, like in Tier 2, Tier 3, everybody's just not happy because either the game's not fun or they're not getting the support they need, so they want to move on to something better that's more worth their time, like Valorant for an example. This has been building up slowly over time, but things like 222 role lock, hero pools, and the devs not caring enough about the game, whether it be in the Tier 1 scene, the Tier 2 scene, not giving that enough support, or just not even incorporating enough good balance changes to the game. All of that has contributed to a massive upward spike of negativity for this game and its pro esports scene. We're long past the point of this just being a bunch of rumblings and rumors and people voicing their concerns over the internet. We have pro players literally retiring from the game before our very eyes, talking about how it's just not fun anymore for them. We've got Sinatraa, no more Seagull, to Franz leaving us, to Vic, Taimu, the list goes on and on. So many legends of the game are leaving us because they know that Overwatch's time is done, at least for them. And it's not even just former players. We have players in the Overwatch League right now talking about just that Sinatraa made the right decision. We literally saw AKM reply to Sinatra's tweet saying, "You made the right decision." Does that maybe imply something might be wrong and a lot of the DPS players or just players in general are unhappy with the state of the league? Then to follow up, AKM also put another tweet out saying that this sadly isn't the only player who could be leaving for Valorant. And I'm not sure if he's implying that people are definitely going to be leaving or that it could be happening in the future, but either way, that's kind of scary to think about. It's pretty clear that some people just aren't happy too if you look at social media, either because they complain or maybe they talk about how fun a certain game is. I can totally see a world where guys like AKM, Unko, and Lynxer just get the heck out of there and they move on to something else, like Valorant, for example. With the current state of the game, can you really blame any of those people for potentially wanting to leave? I know I can't. And I mean, I'm not the first person to bring this up or the next thing we're going to talk about, and that is the viewership numbers. We've seen a steady decline since the beginning of Season 1. That goes without saying. Now, obviously, we were sure that the viewership wasn't going to stay at like a consistent amount like we saw on the first day with Dallas Fuel versus Seoul Dynasty, but we've seen significant dips. Overwatch League isn't going to go anywhere because they signed that contract with YouTube and all, but if we want the numbers to go back up and we want the general interest to increase, things have to change and it needs to start happening soon. We need better balancing. We need when Overwatch 2 to come out at least for there to be some sort of revival with the gameplay to make it more enjoyable. And let's not forget about the Tier 2 scene and below that even in Tier 3. It's time to start investing in that. I don't care if it doesn't earn you a lot of money, it's going to help out a lot. How the heck are we going to find the next Sinatraa if we don't have a proper minor league setup? You guys know what's up by now. Tier 2 teams are dropping dead left and right. There's no Academy teams left except for Uprising Academy in NA. We're at that point now. Even Team Envy is done. So many of these players are calling it quits and going to different games or pursuing different career paths altogether because their dream of becoming a pro in Overwatch is dead because of the lack of support they're getting. Either that or you're just not making a good enough living so there's no point of playing anymore. And that ain't right, Chief. We need those sick tournaments back. We need more opportunities to make revenue. We got to have those sick Apex tournaments like back in the day that were really hype in Contender Season 0. It needs to make a return somehow. My fear though is that we're too late at this point and it's in such shambles that there's no point of even trying to revive it. I don't know what the future holds, but right now with the current state we're in, I sure as hell know that I am not ready to find out. I want to stay optimistic, but I'm scared like the rest of you. I'm kind of going off on a tangent here. I know I'm ranting at this point, so I'm going to move on. It's really upsetting though, so I felt we needed to address it. I couldn't ignore it any longer. So to end off this video, I wanted to pay tribute to Sinatraa because he, in my opinion, is one of the greatest players to ever touch Overwatch. His tracking is legendary. It is something that you very rarely see with some of these players these days. He is an elite status. He's all by himself, really. He's in his own type of category. We also have to remember that he's a very popular guy. He's had a large following even before he joined the league. Back during his selfless days when he was spawn camping people with Defran in his 2017 World Cup debut, a lot of people really took notice of this young 16, 17-year-old prodigy and they're like, oh, I can't wait to see what this guy becomes. He's going to be a beast. Then next thing you know, he joined San Francisco Shock and everybody's like, oh, the moment he turns 18, he's going to be sick. And while the Shock didn't do too well even after he turned 18, they quickly turned things around as we all know in Season 2 and he became an absolute phenom and one of the best players in the world. At his peak, he was arguably the best player in the game. That's how insanely good he is. I really don't care if you love the guy or you hate his guts. You have to respect his game and what he accomplished because he accomplished a lot, you know? He won the 2019 Overwatch League Championship. He was the 2019 Overwatch League MVP. Then just literally like months later, here he is winning the 2019 Overwatch World Cup, and he's the MVP in that event as well. So in not even a year's time, he earned 4 trophies, 2 MVPs, and 2 championships. That is an absurd accomplishment, and not many people can say they've played up to that level. He's one of the all-time greats, even though he was so young still. And let's not forget about how iconic he was on Tracer and Zarya. Is he the best Tracer player to ever touch the game? No, in my opinion, he's definitely not, but is he one of the better ones? Oh, for sure. On the other hand, his Zarya is arguably the best we've ever seen. I know we have some of the legends like Zumba and all those guys, but Sinatraa, with the way he played last year, it was ridiculous. I've never seen any Zarya player play like that. Take it for what you will because I'm some random guy on the internet, but in my opinion, Sinatraa is the greatest Zarya player ever. With that type of resume, you're easily a Hall of Fame type of player. If the Overwatch League Hall of Fame existed, he'd be first ballot, no doubt. You can maybe even argue he's like on the Mount Rushmore of famous Overwatch people because of how much he's done. It's funny too because I really don't even like Sinatraa all that much. To be honest, I used to hate him back in the day, but I still really do respect what he's done and what he's accomplished. I just really do appreciate the drive he's had for the game and his ability to stay passionate for all that time even though he doesn't feel the same way anymore, and his ability to improve as a person, not just as a player, is outstanding to me. He went from this toxic 17-year-old guy who was super cocky and overconfident to this dude who really transformed himself into a pretty mature guy and a leader for that matter. And in my opinion, you could arguably be more proud of that accomplishment than all the stuff you did in Pro Overwatch. But I think I pretty much covered everything I wanted to talk about. I went over his accomplishments and how much I appreciate what he's done for the game, so I think I'm going to leave it at that. So to wrap it up, thank you so much, Sinatraa. I know you're probably not going to watch this, but from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for everything you have done for Pro Overwatch. Like, you did so much for this community, and I don't even think you realize. From your fans to the entertainment, everything you did will never be forgotten. I don't care if you left this game and you did it in the middle of a season. It doesn't matter to me. Am I disappointed in this outcome? Yeah, of course I am, because I hate to see legends of the game just leave us like this, but I respect his decision, and I really do wish him the best in the future. And with that said, thank you guys so much for watching this news video. I know it's a long one, but there's a lot I had to say, so if you did enjoy it and you'd like to see more news videos in the future, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And also, you can further support me by following me on Twitter at ATP Overwatch, joining my Discord server through the link in the description, or becoming a channel member today for some exclusive perks. And until next time, this is ATP, signing out. Peace.